with regards to the 10th National Assembly still have not been resolved. Just yesterday, we understood that the president himself has now waded into the matter, and most of the stakeholders believe that it will be not just a step in the right direction, but one way to resolve all of those differences and then forge a common front amongst the lawmakers themselves, whether those who are returning or those who are just elected for the first time. We can't take our eye away from the fact that the legislature itself is pivotal to the issue of good governance and the delivery of dividends of democracy, which means that beyond the leadership, those who get to hold principal positions, the quality of leadership they will provide to support whatever initiatives that the executive will drive in collaboration, of course, with the judiciary, will largely determine how we move forward as a country. I've also had an interview with someone who has a strong voice in the civil society space. He's also someone very influential when you have conversations around foreign policies, diplomatic issues, and then back at home, issues around democracy and good governance. We'll bring it out in the course of the show as well this morning. But the papers are all blazing with big headlines this morning. Of course, naturally, we expected that to happen. So we're just going to take it straight to this day newspaper now, and you have several big stories there as well. The most visible of them probably is one here that says Tinubu meets senators, members elect, charges them to work together, choose own leaders. Apparently, the president is giving them that latitude to decide who leads them at the 10th National Assembly. Urges them to put nation's interest above other considerations. PDP moves back to Yari's faction to create upset, says opposition parties will maximize their members. Okay, Abiodun, governors across parties have accepted APC's candidates. I would have thought since the National Working Committee of the party has spoken, or at least has made its position known, and the president has also lent a voice in that direction. This issue should have been laid to rest, but apparently that isn't the case as it stands right now. But then let's look at the top of the nameplates of today's This Day newspaper. Sule, Buhari spent over $19 billion on fixing refineries in 8 years without results. What else is he saying? Doubts Nigeria's petrol consumption data. Of course, it's not the first to have taken issue with that data regarding the amount of petrol that we consume. NNPCL's 8.48 trillion Naira subsidy claims still unreconciled, backs removal. Okay, those are stories this morning from This Day newspaper, and there right beneath this headline you find telecoms sector contributed 2.508 trillion naira to GDP in Q1 2023. What that means in context is the telecom sector made a contribution of 1/2 trillion naira to the GDP in the first 3 months of the year, apparently January, February, and March. So that again shows you how significantly vital, all right, if you like, key the telecom sector is to our overall GDP position. Okay, so on that note, we're turning quickly now to the Sun newspaper. The Daily Sun says INEC explains non-transmission of election results with beavers. OBLP seek court order to question commission on credibility of ICT devices. Nigerians expressed concerns around those areas. Some persons talked about network, the reliability of network, downtime, and so on and so forth. Others were concerned about even availability of network in certain areas across the country. Now we understand that the Labour Party is particularly saying, look, one of our prayers is that those who manned the ICT infrastructure be questioned, okay, perhaps cross-examined by this tribunal But then again, it's an unfolding case, isn't it? All right, Makinde, Wike, Otom, Ikbazu, Ugwaye meet Tinubu, seek equity, fairness, justice. Now, these gentlemen obviously are shaking hands across party lines. As they say, in basic politics, no prominent friends, no prominent enemies, only prominent interests. Panic in Anambra Assembly as armed men try to abduct member-elect's 10th NAS leadership. Nobody should take his own assault seriously. Aize. El-Rufai under fire over viral video. Catholic priests ask Tinubu Ubasani to call ex-Cardinal Governor to order over comments on same faith ticket. Tears as Senator Annie Okonkwo dies at 63. Somudo Ngege orders mourn. Okay, that was a piece of story that broke yesterday. Quite a sad one, no doubt about that. Mbai in Aso Rock asks Tinubu to release Kano. Says such gesture will begin healing process. Outlines security economic plans for Enugu. Okay, that's Governor Mba, who was just inaugurated barely 2 weeks ago. Okay, let's see a different paper this time, everyone. Let's take a look at the Delhi Independent. Okay, the Delhi Independent says Tinubu APC oppose INEC staff testifying in Atiku's petition. Obi seeks order to question INEC on ICT experts used in poll. Above the nameplate, it reads Tinubu signs bill raising retirement age of judges. We understand that there's now uniformity with regards to the retirement age of judges across board. That's one bill the president has now signed. His first, by the way. Enugu Governor Mba meets Tinubu, presses for Nnamdi Kanu's release. What's more do we have here? 10th NAS National Assembly, governors across parties in support of APC's Zoni Governor Abiodun. Okay, RMAFC backs Tinubu on subsidy removal, says it's long overdue. Asserts NNPCL yet to reconcile 8.4 trillion naira fuel subsidy claims. Jim O'Brien loses appeal to recover assets, unfreeze bank accounts. Court extends order restraining EFCC orders from detaining Yari. PDP vows to deploy strength maximally in National Assembly leadership election. Wants APC INEC in democracy. Okay, those are the stories quite essentially from this morning's Daily Independent. But there's one at the foot of the page, the front page that is. It says PDP G5 members bounce back, meet Tinubu in Aso Rock. All right, they say they want equity, they want fairness, they want unity. Okay, I mean party affiliation and partisanship notwithstanding. Let's turn to the Vanguard quickly now. Okay, on the Vanguard we have a story here that says oil revenue crash pushes FG's deficit to 513 billion naira in February. Then it has three riders there. It is 16% below budget benchmark, CBN. Non-oil revenue declines 2. Federation account revenue drops 32%. Tinubu meets lawmakers. That headline, that story, as this has a picture of the president and other lawmakers, and then of course is flanked by the Vice President, Kashif Shettima, as well as the outgone Senate President and then outgone Speaker of the House of Representatives right there. Presidential poll, Tinubu APC oppose INEC's ad hoc staff as witnesses. Northern Forum seeks arrest probe of ex-aviation minister Sirika. Death toll in Benue communities, attacks hits 40. Messi shoots Inter Miami's followers to 4.5 million in 12 hours. That's on page 31 of today's Vanguard newspaper. Okay, you want to read it up as you make progress into your day. Let's see some headlines just right above the nameplate of the Vanguard newspaper. PDP's G5 governors meet with Tinubu. We stand for justice, fairness, equity. Makinde. Presidential poll, Obi produces software engineer as witness. 5G, Nigeria must prioritize consumers' privacy, ethics of data usage, NCC. 10th NAS leadership uncertainty over presiding officers. And then when you take a look at the right end, that's the right corner of the front page of this morning's today's Vanguard newspaper, it says FG puts payments to MDAs on hold. Democracy Day, government declares June 12 public holiday. Nasarawa Assembly, factional speaker accuses CP of fueling crisis. These are stories from today's Vanguard newspaper. So we'll take you straight to the Nation newspaper now. Very, very visible headline in front of it. Tinubu's parley boosts Akpabio's Abbas's chances. You can see him shaking hands there. Okay, telcos accuse big banks of reluctance to pay USSD charges. That issue has been a long time coming. We understand that there have been interventions from the Central Bank of Nigeria as well from the Nigeria Communications Commission, because let's set the record straight. There is an understanding, call it agreement if you like, between the big banks, as I'd like to call them now, and the telcos, that's the telecoms operators themselves, with regards to the USSD platforms, all right, which subscribers use for a wide range of services and so on and so forth. Of course, ultimately, there ought to be remittances made by the banks to the telcos themselves, but we are told that hasn't happened in a long, long time, and it has risen to billions as it stands today. So the telco's position is, look, pay us what it is that is yours, all right? Make all the necessary remittances to us. So that has been the back and forth, basically. So we have seen the CBN and the NCC intervening to ensure that this issue is laid to rest, but apparently that still hasn't happened. So it raises the questions around what really is the reason you're finding this logjam. What makes it impossible or so difficult for remittances to be done by the banks to the telecoms operators themselves? We hope that is resolved as quickly as possible, because we understand that the USSD platforms of certain telcos, all right, have been affected, and what they say is when two elephants fight, the grass would suffer. So naturally, it's the subscribers that will be at a disadvantage in light of these very nasty developments. Okay, so we look at the top, just above the nameplate of the Nation newspaper. The kind of security chiefs president's needs by Olugbo, transfer of Ogun Kaduna tribunals to Abuja. What's their reason? Well, you can find it when you pick up today's Nation newspaper, and then you can read it up on page 5. Okay. Appeal court orders Makinde to pay ex-council chiefs 3.4 billion naira. Will he do that? Well, it says it's the appeal court that has ordered him. All right. There's something called the rule of law, which must be respected at all times, regardless of what the circumstances may be. Telcos accuse big banks of reluctance to pay USSD charges. Is a big story on today's Nation newspaper. Presidential poll okay, where we said say articles witnesses. NNPCL withholding 8.4 trillion naira from Federation account, says RMAFC. So what do we do going forward? 8.4 trillion naira is a whole lot of money. All right, so you want to make sure that money is released as quickly as possible, so Nigeria can spend from it to address some of its most pressing challenges. All right. So we progress now to the Punch newspaper this morning. Let's see what the Punch newspaper has got for us. Reps step down 543 billion naira judgment debt payment. President signs bill on judges' retirement age. Subsidy, NNPCL failed to run it over 8 trillion naira, says RMAFC. National Assembly leadership, Tinubu's meeting with lawmakers fails to resolve zoning crisis. President called for zoning, failed to name anointed aspirants. Sources. Opposition parties claim majority, plot to use number against APC candidates. And then by the right corner of today's Punch newspaper, two headlines there. One says Nigeria Air Arawa Group demands Sirika's arrest. INEC APC oppose LP's request to quiz ICT experts. Return home for vote buying trial, APC tells Adebutu. Ogun community residents stranded as flood overruns Link Road. 5G raised telecoms GDP contribution to 2.51 trillion naira NCC. So if we're to go by this, it means that 5G is a blessing, obviously, so we can only wait for that time when it becomes available across cities in this country, because we've been told of the advantages that come with it, whether it's for home use, for small businesses, or even for enterprises and large-scale business interests. All right, so let's see how we can appropriate it the best way possible, so we can maximize the advantages it brings with it. Okay, so let's look at Friday, or Leadership Friday now. Okay, Leadership Friday is our next port of call. Okay, 10th NAS leadership, Tinubu sticks with Akpabio, Abbas lobbies lawmakers. Says it's about Nigeria projects, accuses Goje, Aliero, Ramako of stalling progress. Yari, Kalu, Jimo Ibrahim was Batara absent. Opposition will spring surprises on Tuesday, PDP boasts. 45,000 Nigerians may miss Hajj over visa hitches. Okay, what's more here? Transactions suffer as FG restricts MDA's accounts. Telecom sector contributes 2.508 trillion naira to Nigeria's GDP. And then another one here, just at the foot of the front page, says Kano demolition. Police arraign 106 suspects for thefts, breaking. That's on page 14 of Leadership Friday. Dark communication found advocacy for burial June 22. Government killed Catholic priests in Edo. That's talking about late Reverend Father Charles. Okay, that was another sad story that came out of Edo State 2 days ago. Obi seeks tribunals not to question INEC on ICT experts. We continue to follow the proceedings, so we see exactly how that would turn out, what the verdicts would be ultimately. But one thing we know for a fact, without any intention to be sub judice, is that technology is now an integral aspect of our electoral process. All right, so going forward beyond the 2023 general election cycle, we want to be sure that we clean up that front of our electioneering and indeed our electoral process in such a way that Nigerians can build confidence. They can trust the system to deliver maximally as far as elections are concerned. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at SportingSun. SportingSun. I mean, who says we can't talk a little about sport this morning? 2023 Women's World Cup dollar win for Super Falcons. FIFA splashes $30,000 each for group stage. Win for rises as team progresses. Okay, and then it says Onwachu close to Southampton exits as Euro clubs line up to sign Eagles striker. Awori offsets cancer patients beyond others at surprise visits to a Ilorin General Hospital. Igalo makes team of the season in Saudi Arabia. I was miserable at PSG. Messi, that's rather honest. Operation Saudi move hits Mahrez. Okay. No Man United move for Kane. Striker included in club 2023-2024 kit launch. Hazard planning to retire at 32. These are all big stories coming out of the SportingSun this morning. But then we're just going to talk a little about business. We turn to Business Day now. It says subsidy removal buys breathing space for debt-ridden Nigeria. Okay, of course, the subsidy removal has ramifications, no doubt about that. Gold export hits 78 billion naira, highest on record. Anger trolls Obasa's indigenous-based property law comments. We understand that so many persons, including Lagosians, have been railing against him, talking about the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Obasa. With Tech Edge, you see better life than parents. Okay, what more can we find from today's business day. Ipman sees private investment, CNG lowering petrol price. Okay, there's some prospects there. More commuters switch to BRT on high transport costs. So we are now readjusting our lives on account of the implication of fuel subsidy removal. Nigeria misses out on Canada's visa-free travel list. Exactly what does that mean? I'm sure you find details if you decide to read it up on page 35 of today's business day. So those are some of the big stories we're bringing your way this morning. But remember that the fuel subsidy issue continues to be topical across this country because of the role it plays. For those who say we ought to have long ago removed the fuel subsidy, they are 100% correct. And those who say, well, we should have done it systematically. Well, that again is relative. What exactly do we mean by systematically? This is something we had attempted to remove on the 1st of January in 2012. It never worked. Some person said, well, the issue there was not about the intention to remove subsidy. It was about the fact that it was announced on the first day of the year. They say it was a bad omen. But then, 12 years later, 11 years down the line, look at where we are. It was removed on the very day President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was inaugurated. Should we criticize, should we rail against the day or the circumstances around the removal, or should we look at the intention and what the removal itself can do for Nigeria and for the Nigerian economy? So basically, we should be concerned about how it changes our economic landscape for the better. I'm just going to join my guest now in a bit so we can bring you the interaction we had on some very pertinent issues. Have a great time watching.
I am for everybody, I am for nobody. No, not talking in another way.
How are you sure, sir?
Keep quiet. I am in another way. I am for the only area where Buhari defeats for that statement. Now they are for when you are talking about project, the project spell at God. You need to spell at God. What does it mean? But you say appointment, and in the type of appointment, you appoint people in front. But if you say the man, I'm ready to say that whether our leaders are okay. You know how many people when they get the position then. Why na no come win APC? Why na no win get na enemy? Yeah, enemy. Why na no come win Lagos? Why na be their population? Why na no win Lagos? Now see, let me tell you.
Thank you everyone for staying with us here on the program. We just want to dedicate this last leg of the discussion to very topical issues, areas of concern for Nigeria. Basically, the first is the issue of insecurity in this country. There's no amount of money we can put in place of life, all right? Every other time we hear stories about people losing their lives, property worth millions, hundreds of millions, billions in some cases being lost. It just reminds us of where we are in the fight against insecurity. Incidentally, this is a long drawn out fight, and every other day we wake up, we can only hope and believe that at some point we will be able to surmount that challenge. The second issue we want to look at, which is also very important, is the issue of immigration and the leadership, or if you like, the leadership structure within that's a very important institution. What kind of leadership is provided and how those who provide this leadership are also chosen are very important. What are the criteria? What are the yardsticks used? Is it competence? Is it experience? Is it the capacity to lead against all odds? Or is it some other, if you like, narrow considerations? Sometimes some people say political interest and so on and so forth. But overall, the concern should be how such leadership can serve Nigeria and bring about the best at every point in time on all levels and, of course, across the board. I'm joined by gentlemen to help us find some context and as well as some sort of perspectives with regards to these two discussions. Dr. Hussaini Kumasi is the ambassador and head of Mission Nigeria International Peace Commission. I'm delighted to have you on the program.
Nice here too to meet you.
Great. I know as a Nigerian, you are obviously as concerned about the state of insecurity, or as some say, state of security, as I am or any other person out there is. We have been in this war against insecurity for a while now. Depending on where you're standing, what you're looking at, or the criteria you are using, some people say our efforts can best be described as a drop in the ocean. Is that your assessment as well?
Well, thank you very much, my brother. I'm glad to be here and to chip in my little contributions towards achieving national security. National security is very, very important figure. That a country without security is a failed country. So we have to put this issue very seriously ahead of us. In part of the President's inaugural speech, he made mention of peace. Peace and security works together. Without peace, no security. Without security, no peace. Okay, let me take it in another angle. Peace, security, how far has our service chief have gone? So far, a little has been done. And the way forward is community policing. We have to get it right. Community policy. Most of this problem, be it IPOB, Odua, banditry, Boko Haram, all this started from the locality, gradually graduated. Now they have become monsters that we are spending our hard-earned money to fight them. Something that would have avoided or prevented from coming in. So to me, we've lost it from the beginning, and we have to go back to the drawing board and go back to the beginning and start it all over. The past government did their best. President Buhari led administration. Now this is a man that is, I will call him, he's a non-military personnel, but he's a master of the game. Having led Lagos to success. And the area of security he was able to tackle. I could remember during OPC I was in Lagos, he was able to tackle it squarely. So he should use the same method or more to tackle this. I think in the next few months to come, the president will may appoint new service chiefs. In that area, you should be very careful of how you should not appoint service chiefs based on religious or tribal lines. You should address this or appoint them based on experience, based on quality of leadership, based on devotion and diligent to duty, based on patriotism. Those that have Nigeria at heart, those that are ready to die for the country. These are the people, not the people that will come and serve a particular, just because I am a Yoruba man, I must bring a Yoruba, or I'm a Hausa man, I must bring a Hausa. You should rule out that system and appoint service chiefs based on their own contributions in the past, or based on their track record in the past. So, and the side of the community policing, I am referring it directly to the Inspector General of Police. They should try to emphasize on that community policing. They should be representative of the Nigeria Police. Call them informant or whatever is left for you, that are on the payroll of the police and are giving. The IGP or the policeman is not a soothsayer that can see what is coming in. Somebody has to report irregularities in this area to the hierarchy to take it head on. So in this area, we should emphasize more of community policy. I'm assuring you will get it right. And we should not leave traditional rulers behind. These people contribute a lot, almost 90% from the grassroots. 90% traditional rulers, they are very close to the common man, they are very close to the masses, they are very close to you and I. So it's when you talk of things happening in locality, governors may not know, even local government chairman, but the traditional rulers, they have district head, they have ward heads, they have a very good administrative structure. They should bring them back on board and be serious about it, because the constitution has given the the traditional rulers limited powers, and this thing is affecting the policing of the locality. So they have to go back and get it right. If it warrants amending the constitution, give them a little more powers. Like now, the traditional institution has been bastardized in this such a way that a governor will come today and sack an emir. Another governor will come and tell you that no, this is the emir I want. So they are toying with the system, and this is where we have it. We should have it correctly, because if you bastardize the traditional institution, you are giving room for all these unnecessary things to be happening in that particular sector.
In this regard, some persons will argue and tell you some of these traditional rulers have also let their guard down. Some of them have been caught in compromising circumstances. I mean, they say he who must come to equity must come with clean hands. So that would suggest naturally that the traditional rulers themselves have to raise their game and step up.
And because of the way they are appointing, because now they are appointing, or they are bringing on board some unqualified people. Somebody will retire from the military or from the police, the next thing is going to look for the traditional title. Because of the way and manner the governors are appointing them on
it's a process that produces
them. The process is wrong. So if you follow the way it was, because like somebody, like, let me use the Emir of Kano as a case study. In our days, when we mention Emir, when Emir comes on air to talk, the whole state listens to the Emir even more than the governor. I could remember during Rimi time, it was in our days, when Rimi was Governor Rimi, late Abubakar Rimi, blessed memory, was fighting the Emir. The whole Kano people, the masses, stood against the governor. There was a slogan, Bama song governor, Sarki Mukeso. We don't want governor, it is Emir that we want. They chased the governor out of Kano to somewhere in Kaduna to come and get himself prepared and come back. He was forced to go with that emir at that time. So you can understand the love they have for their emirs then. But now, you see your friend that you are rocking and rolling together. The next day is that you hear that he is friend to the governor and his father is dead. They just appoint him as the emir and they come and be misbehaving. So we have the refined ones, yes, and the process that bring emir, like, it should be a process that maybe federal government has to be involved, because a governor look at, I am the person with the sole responsibility of appointing an emir. So even though the federal government want to come in, you say no, it is my responsibility. I will remember the case of Sanusi Lamido Sanusi during Jonathan time.
Right.
The circumstances that brought Sanusi Lamido Sanusi on power, it was because of the feud between Jonathan and Konkoso. Konkoso never allied Sanusi Lamido Sanusi in the first place, but because of the circumstances that warranted
and the political interest.
So he decided to do that in order to hurt President Jonathan. But actually, the first announcement was made. Sanusi Lamido Ado Bayero was announced the emir. Then suddenly we heard another news. No, it was not Sanusi Lamido Ado Bayero, but Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. So the whole the state was in a kind of confusion. So you can understand, because of the political tones, the governor went ahead and did what he felt is the best for him in order to be in control. So the area of respecting traditional institutions or reforming the traditional institution to its original ground, I think it will help us the more.
In 2 minutes, let's talk about peace. Let's talk about the place of peace, because peace is cheaper than war. All right. So why are we spending so much to win war against banditry, against insurgency, against Boko Haram in particular, when peace is actually cheaper? We've seen politicians across board use, rhetorics around ethnicity and religion, even things like region, for example, all right, just to gain political advantage, especially around the election cycle. Is that not, if you like, speaking for both sides of the mouth? Because tomorrow these same politicians will wake up and tell you there's nothing like peace, Nigeria must pursue peace. How do we also address that and find ourselves in the right place?
Anyway, this has been my slogan: cheap is peace in another angle, and it's very expensive in also another hand. You cannot achieve peace when you are promoting violence. They are parallel. It's like devil and saints. They don't walk in the same direction. We got war or violence just because we were unable to maintain that cheap peace. Cheap, you said, when we are enjoying it, as we are now. We are enjoying the peace. Some places in Sudan cannot even sit like this comfortably.
Right.
So when you lose it, it's become expensive game. It's very expensive when you lose it. So now we are losing it. That is why it's becoming expensive. So for the defense or security architecture to be using billions in dollars to buy equipment to crush them, why can't we dialogue with them? We dialogue. Those that have faces, start dialoguing with them. Use the same traditional institutions because they have interface. Use them to meet these people. What are your cries?
The government would always say we do not negotiate with criminals and terrorists.
Forget about the Western ideology. We are in Africa. Criminals or no criminal, they are Nigerians. You have to sit down with them. If your child is misbehaving, because you said, I don't want to discuss misbehavior with my child, so you allow him to go. As he stays in that aspect, he is, drawing more of your children into it. And you are losing. Because the moment you leave one bean inside that basket, a spoiled one will end up destroying the whole basket.
The entire basket.
So the issue is, we continue saying we don't dialogue with terrorists. But look at this peculiar nature of Nigeria now. Do we sit down and be using weapons? You will go to fight terrorists or bandits. At the end of the game, our soldiers loses their lives, their weapons to the same bandits. You pay them ransom, they use the ransom to go and buy weapons and start fighting us back? No. Because the security, some of the bad eggs have compromised. And the area of getting rid of those bad eggs is very narrow. The security agencies are taking it lightly in fighting, on fishing out the bad eggs among them. So first of all, the security architecture completely supposed to look at who are the bad eggs. Going to operation with your phone, communicating with bandits, giving them an advance alert before his troops come in. He is coming there with his colleagues. He has already alerted the bandits that I'm coming. And they attack them and kill innocent people. So to me, I will say whoever is involved in operation this time around, they should collect their phone. They should use only the walkie-talkie and communicate. Because that phone, sending text, WhatsApp, is
they compromise intel.
Yes. So this time around, the moment, if you like, change IG 10 times, change service chiefs 10 times. As far as those bad eggs are there, you can't get it right.
All right, I want us to switch gears quickly now, Dr. Kumasi, and let's talk about immigration system in Nigeria and the issue of leadership. You see controversies continue to come out of that very otherwise noble institution. How do we also take care of that so it doesn't become a monster at the end of the day?
Well, having been part of the immigration for 20 years, I served the immigration for 20 years, so I have the technical knowledge of that organization. During our time, the time we joined, the director then, controller general, then we call them directors, Demilak, a disciplined head of immigration, There are things that he doesn't compromise. He does not take it lightly. Insubordination, in any atom of indiscipline or corruption, because he was the director of immigration, the head of immigration, and his minister was John Shagaya, a military colonel, late John Shagaya. You dare not try it. A rank ahead of you is your senior. One.
And you must recognize that.
You must. If you pass by a rank, like a corporal must respect a sergeant must respect an inspector, kind of. So you must respect, you must recognize that rank ahead of you. Look, let me tell you, even of the same rank, a service number ahead of you is your senior, the same rank. And we take that seriously. We respect our elders, our juniors respected us. But in this particular point in time, you will go to the immigration headquarters, see a controller. A controller supposed to be a commissioner of police equivalent will be passing by, but you will see an inspector ignoring him. And the controller does not care. If you tell, you say, no, he's one of the CG's detail. Who is CG? When you are talking about regimental outfit, discipline is the first thing you should emphasize on. Then rule out corruption. But the way the service is right now is completely polluted. Lot of indiscipline, corruption everywhere. A lack of patriotism. Somebody will pass out from a training school with 1 star. The next thing you will see his name on foreign mission. You dare not. You are going to foreign mission to represent the Nigerian government, not immigration. Representing Nigerian government in foreign mission without experience. Just because your father is the deputy controller general, or your mother is a deputy controller general, or your assistant controller, or the controller general himself, or your father's friend, then it's now favoritism, not professionalism. We are in trouble if we maintain this system. And the process of selecting or nominating or appointing controller general is completely polluted now. Now, what is going on at Dupoju is now the controller general. Somebody that has just barely 24 hours to her retirement. You appointed that controller.
How did that happen? Was that an extension of some sort?
Yes, they appointed that today because Arek Basola planned this thing. The bad omen in the immigration right now is Arek Basola, the three-quarter trouser man. He created a lot of confusion in the immigration.
You can't describe him in those words. I mean, I would like you to take those words back, please.
Okay, I've taken it
because
back.
He is not here to speak for himself as well.
Yes, I've taken it back. But the truth must be told. The man made all this arrangement, designed all this arrangement, appointed Adepoju to take over from Jerry 24 hours to her retirement. In fact, I don't want to go deep on even when she got the letter, but information reaching me that she even got the letter before the date, when there was a sitting controller general. So the issue is that Jerry got 2 extensions from last year to April this year. So when if you mean well for the service, okay, you extend, as you are extending him to 29th of May, you should have extended him to 31st of May. That 31st of May, this woman will be retiring, might have retired. Then there are so many, if you want to favor the Yorubas, we have an assistant controller general from Ekiti State who has more than 2 years in the service. So if you really want to get it right, you don't have to say because Yorubas were never given opportunity to serve, so Yoruba must head the organization. No, that is where we are getting it wrong.
But again, that is bringing in the issue of ethnicity now.
Yes, ethnicity has consumed the service because the Yorubas are saying Emilio Kong, kind of. But if we are to talk about the reality, is immigration a tribal organization?
But how about people who say the immigration system, just like several other security outfits as well, have been tilted in favor of the North? There's also that argument. So how do we create an equilibrium?
It's very simple because it's not that they brought in the North from a background and appointed the next in the hierarchy take over. The next in the hierarchy, that's how it has been. So then when Damulak left, yes, the next in the hierarchy was Garba Abbas.
Doesn't that show a dominance by a region?
No. When you people are not much in the service, the Yorubas are in different service. in customs, in the fire service, in prisons. So in the immigration hierarchy, where you have many northerners in that, how do I call it? In that leadership cadre, the DCG, ACG, or the director, deputy director cadre, definitely who is next takes over. And look at the way the appointment was made. When Uzu died, they did not bring in the next in the hierarchy, but had immediate deputy who was holding brief for her when she got sick. So when she died, Baraya was already there. So he acted, they never confirmed him. He acted for that, I think, a period of some few months, and they removed him and brought in substantive controller general in the name of Joseph Ude from Delta Igbo. He served the service almost 5 years. When he left the service, the next in the hierarchy between Dr. Brown and Uzoma was the senior. Dr. Brown would have been a clerk. I was in support of Dr. Brown because he was my immediate boss. Dr. Brown would have been the head clearly, but he was not given the opportunity because she claimed she was his senior. Not claimed, she proved she was his senior, and she was appointed. So along the line, the same Igbos fought her, Igbo versus Igbo, not Hausa, not Yoruba. They removed her from power, and the next in hierarchy was Arbi Musa. He took over.
So how do we address this anomaly that you refer to? How do we fix it?
You have to reorganize the whole organization, purge out the leadership as it stands now, because most of these deputy controller generals, assistant controller generals, most of them, not all, most of them are already expired milk. Appoint from the controller, because the act says appoint an officer among the serving personnel. You never stated rank.
So we have to go back to that act and amend it.
Yes.
I'm afraid, Dr. Kumasi, that this is the much time we allow us take, which means that you and I will continue to have this conversation going forward, especially again beyond the immigration service, also foreign policy position of Nigeria, because a lot of persons say that that aspect of our international engagement is broken and it needs fixing, like yesterday morning. I want to thank you so specially for coming to share with us along these lines today. This is where we'll leave it, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Uya Agmofogbe. Stay with us here on Global TV.